Hey everybody, we're going to do an introduction to the exercises on page 101 and 102 of our workbook, Roman numeral 6 for grammar and composition handbook. Okay, so go ahead and get out your book and turn to page 101 and we'll get started. All right. Exercise 174. In the first blank, identify the italicized phrases as prepositional, participial, gerund, infinitive, positive, absolute, or ABS, meaning nominative absolute. In the second blank, write N if the phrase is used as a noun, ADJ if it's used as an adjective, or ADV if it's used as an adverb. Okay, so the first blank is how it's being used. I'm sorry, the first blank is what it is, second is how it's being used. So, the proper purpose of the criminal justice system is to protect the innocent by punishing the guilty. Okay, so how it's being used, well, first what it is, punishing the guilty. This is going to be either a gerund or infinitive. The word by is a preposition, so clearly it's going to be used as a object of preposition. So let's see. It is objects of prepositions are nouns, so it must be a gerund. So let's do in the first blank, write gerund. And then in the second blank, write N if the phrase is used as a noun, ADJ is an adjective, or ADV for adverb. This one is a noun, so an N. That's all you have to do. Now, the reason why this is a gerund is because it ends in ing. And it's being used as a noun. That's the qualifications of a gerund. And I know it's going to be a noun because it's the object of preposition of the phrase by punishing the guilty. Reviewing clauses. In the first blank, write noun if the italicized clause is used as a noun, adjective if it's used as an adjective, or ADV if it's used as an adverb. In the second blank, write the function. Is it a subject, direct object, predicate nominative, object of preposition, or a positive? Okay, well, so first blank is noun, adjective, adverb. Though she made 5 A's and only 1 B. Okay, so this is describing. It is providing additional information. It is not being used as a noun. It's a dependent clause, right? And I say it's a clause because it has a subject and a verb. She is the subject. Made is the verb. That is definitely a clause. So it's going to be either describing Kimberly, describing the verb was happy, or describing report card. And so let's eliminate report card because it does not describe report card. It's not a blue report card or a bad report card or anything like that. It doesn't describe Kimberly because it's not describing her. It's actually modifying or describing the verb happy. It's like, even though she was not happy. To what extent was she happy? She was so not happy that she made 5 A's, even though she made 5 A's and only 1 B. So anyway, it's a tough one to get in your head. But since you know it's not describing report card or Kimberly, it must be describing happy. And so the function that modifies a verb would be an adverb. So this is an adverb. This is going to be the hardest one you have. Okay? And since that one's so hard, I think I'm going to do one more just to make sure. So let's look at the next one. Philosophers are still debating whether the will has any control over the current of thought in our dreams. So this is the clause. Philosophers are still debating cheese, okay? If you replaced all this with a single word, what kind of word would it be? Philosophers are still debating the Bible. Philosophers are still debating Corona. Well, all of those things that you would replace it with are nouns. So this must be a noun. So let's write noun in the blank. And then we got to tell how it's being used in the sentence. What is its function? Philosophers is the subject, are debating is the verb. What's the noun that follows the action verb? It would be a direct object. Right? So that noun clause is being used as the direct object. All right, let's move on to the next section. 176, reviewing sentence structure. In the blanks, write S for simple sentence, CD for compound, CX for complex, and CDCX for compound complex. All right, let's see, what would be a good one? Okay, let's do number 2. I think number 2 would help us the most. Integrity of life is fame's best friend, which nobly beyond death shall crown the end. How many independent thoughts are there? Integrity of life is fame's best friend, which nobly beyond death shall crown the end. Well, there's 2 clauses. There's a clause and there's a clause. You can tell kind of what it is by the fact that there's not a semicolon or not a comma and in this. But here's the criteria. Can I walk to the front of the class and say the first line and walk away and people understand what I'm doing? So I'm walking up to the class and I clear my throat. Integrity of life is fame's best friend. And then I walk away. Does that make sense? It absolutely makes sense. It is a complete thought. So that is an independent clause. Now, let's do the same thing with the other clause. I'm walking up. Which nobly beyond death shall crown the end. And I walk away. Do people look at me sideways? What? Yes, they do, because that cannot stand alone. You're looking for something else. What are we talking about? Nobly beyond death shall crown the end. What is it? Which nobly beyond death shall crown the end. So that is dependent on the other existing. There's only one independent clause and there is one dependent clause. The definition of complex is one independent clause and one or more dependent clauses. So this is complex. Now, as you do the rest of them, remember, if it's one independent clause and that's all there is, no dependence, not another independent, that would be called simple. If there are 2 independent clauses, both can stand alone, and there are no dependent clauses, and that would also include inside the independent clauses. If there's not any other clauses besides the one or more independent clauses, we call that compound. And then compound complex has at least 2 independent clauses that can stand alone and at least 1 dependent clause that can't stand alone. That would be compound complex. So you do that on your own, and let's turn to page 102. All right. Reviewing agreement and usage. Correct any incorrect words and write in the corrections where necessary. Okay, so this has a lot of potential issues. It does not give us italicized words or anything. We have to find the problem. So Mr. Patterson told Faith and I that he is one of the local businessmen who supports the community art museum. Okay, so let's look at, this is a subject-verb agreement. So we just need to look at subjects and verbs and pronouns. All right, so nouns and verbs agreement. Mr. Patterson told Faith and I. Okay, I question I. Mr. Patterson is the subject, told is the verb. That makes Faith the direct object and I the direct object. Pronouns, this is a pronoun that is used as a direct object, has to be objective case. Remember our cases, nominative and objective. We have I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they, who, whoever. And objective is me, you, him, her, it, us, you, them, whom, whomever. Okay? Now let's look. This is going to be a direct object, so it needs to be objective case. I is nominative case, so we need to use me instead. Faith and me. Okay? And then let's look at the end. That he, subject, is verb. One, predicate nominative, that's okay. Of the local businessman, that's a prepositional phrase. Who supports the community art museum, that's a prepositional phrase. But who is one, no, who is related, is that referring to businessman or he? And I would posit that who is referring to businessman. He is one of the local businessmen who. The businessmen support. Businessmen is multiples, that's plural. They support. He supports, they support. So we need to change supports to support because businessmen is plural and support is plural. Okay? And that's all that's wrong with that one. So you guys do the rest. Next, reviewing agreement and usage. Okay? Neither Nathan nor his sister, cross out any words that are incorrect or inappropriate to standard formal English. Write in corrections where necessary. Okay? Neither Nathan nor his sisters wants to lose their places in the choir. Well, that's actually loose. That's spelled loose. We know that's wrong. They don't loose their places. They L-O-S-E, lose. So we've fixed that one already. Neither Nathan nor his sisters. This is singular. Nathan is singular. Sisters is plural. You remember the rule about singular and plural both together? The verb takes on the plurality or the number of the subject closest to it. Which one is closest to wants? Sisters is. Sisters is plural. Nathan wants, it sounds right. So that means wants is singular. Nathan wants. Sisters want without the S because sisters is plural. So we need to use a plural verb, want. Okay? That's all you have to fix on that one. So you can do the rest. There's from 2 to 9. Get that taken care of, please, and get that uploaded, and I'll give you a grade. I look forward to seeing you again soon. I miss you terribly. Stay safe. Wear your mask when you go outside, not for their sake, but not for your sake, but for their sake. Because what if you're sick? You know. Okay. Love you guys. Have a good one. Bye.